we have this great collection of etudes written by our friend Altès, and you'll see edited by our good friend Barrère. At the beginning of this etude, we have a grand entrance, and I believe that's not only because of this etude itself, but because it's the entrance to the entire collection of etudes. You can tell it's a grand entrance because we have all these accents, sforzandos, ritards, fermatas, a tempos, all these indications that we can take liberty with it. So do that. Remember, this is a great opportunity for me to say one of my favorite things. Etudes should always sound like music. Music should never sound like etudes. So use this grand entrance to draw us in and get excited about hearing this great piece of music that you're about to play for us. I like to think of the tempo one really being at the ben martellato after this grand entrance. And I'm not going to tell you if you don't know what ben martellato means, because I don't want to spoon feed everything to you. Go look it up if you don't know what it means. But for now, I'll just say that it does indicate that things shouldn't be too easy sounding and smooth. It's a bit aggressive, it's high energy. This entire etude has a lot of great energy. Going along with that, and as always, be sure that you do all of the accents, that you do the sforzandos, and look for and do the dynamics. It'll make it much more interesting to play and to hear. This etude is definitely slow enough to single tongue, and I would absolutely do that, especially because of that mysterious ben martellato marking. Maybe tell me in the comments if you knew what it meant before I told you to go look it up. One thing too that I catch students doing, be sure that you know trill fingerings. Be sure that you're not ever guessing at trill fingerings. I have to correct trill fingerings too often, but you should know them just as well as you know regular flute fingerings. So whenever you come to a trill fingering, if in doubt, look it up. Also, we have a lot of breath marks in all of these Altès etudes, and yet we don't have every single breath marked. There are only some of them that are marked. So I like to think of them as indications to breathe and or phrase as well. So you'll hear in this etude, I make the decision to often take a little extra time on those breath marks. I'm not just taking a breath, but I'm letting the music and the phrasing breathe because I feel it's more musical that way. Once we get to page 3, if you watch closely enough, you'll see that I do some alternate high note fingerings in order to bring the pitch down, especially when there's sforzandos and accents. You'll also see, if you're watching carefully enough, in the first few lines, I take a good number of fish breaths in order to keep the tempo going and not ever stop to take a breath. And if you have no idea what I mean by fish breaths, you can go watch our episode on fish breaths. We have one specifically. Different people do call them different things. You might have heard of them as catch breaths or even 911 breaths, but I like to call them fish breaths. And then once you get to the end of this page, we come back to the introduction idea briefly at the end. So again there, I take time, I make it dramatic, so we have a grand finale at the end of our number 1 etude.